Hello, welcome to Bluejay Chat. I'm your host, Nathan Meyer. Alongside me, as always, is Dr. John Sample. And John, we have a very important guest today as his job keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Very distinguished, very important. I brought Eddie Then with us. He is, right now at least, he's still the Director of Human Resources, but in just a couple of short weeks, he will be the, what is your new title, Eddie?
Director of Business Services.
So a very key role in the operational side of things. That puts myself, Dale Bergman, and Eddie Then as the operational side. And so, yeah, he's been certainly busy. It doesn't matter if it's during the school year or if it's during the summer. He's always got a lot on his plate.
Yeah, Eddie, thanks for joining us today. But John, we're going to kind of go into our normal stuff. The Board of Education was in the boardroom once again, but we still had our normal recognitions.
We did. We recognized both Tina and Steve Peterson for their many years of providing transportation services for our district. Peterson Busing has been doing a great job for us. They became Peterson Busing LLC in 1996, but before that, even Ralph Peterson Bus Service was transporting our students, and so they are no longer going to be transporting students. They're getting out of the business, so to speak, and kind of retiring. So we appreciate Tina and Steve Peterson for all their years of service to our kids. And also, we recognized our middle school counselor, Trina Knospe, last night. She was recognized by the Big Brothers and Big Sisters of North Central Wisconsin as the 2021 Jim Hoops Award recipient. Back in 1976, Jim saw a need to establish a mentoring program to help the youth of our community, and Big Brothers and Big Sisters kind of carries that torch, so to speak. And so Trina, even during COVID, she figured out a way to connect with students, the students with their mentors virtually. And so COVID did not slow Trina down. It didn't slow our mentorship partnership with Big Brothers and Big Sisters down. She was able to work through those challenges. So congratulations to Trina Knospe.
Absolutely. And obviously, John, we do want to discuss real quickly. Like we said, we were back in the boardroom. We got to test our board video equipment again. Unfortunately, there was a glitch where we missed the first 10 minutes, and we had a very important public comment that I'd like to have you address. And I thought it was a good public comment to have.
Yeah, Peter Wade, and he is with the Maple Grove Foundation. He thanked the administration and the board members and the community for supporting Maple Grove Charter School and elementary school for as many years as we did. Maple Grove was tied to Athens School District once upon a time, and they've been a part of the Merrill district now for over 30 years. And so I thought it was very, very nice that he took the time out of his schedule to come and thank us for the support, and that we can continue to work together as communities.
Yeah, and I apologize on behalf of Merrill Productions that we had missed that footage, but we will be doing our best to make sure that system is running operational. But keep in mind that system hasn't ran since February of 2020, before the pandemic started. So we obviously got some glitches to get figured out before we're back to full speed again. But enough of that. We did great otherwise. So let's kind of talk, John, a little bit with Eddie here. We're obviously going through the hiring cycles. We had more hires last night, I'm sure. We don't really read the consent agenda fully like we used to. But Eddie, I'm sure there's been plenty of hires that you've made here and have had to make with the new positions that have kind of opened up with everything being realigned.
Yes, there definitely has, and we got a couple different things going on. We've got our alignment that we're doing from a central office standpoint, but we've also have the ESSER funded positions specifically. And then, of course, there's normal turnover, retirements, resignations, things like that. So yeah, there's kind of three separate buckets of HR going on right now with regards to what is happening. So first things first, the regular normal turnover type things. Yesterday was contract due day, or I should say Tuesday night at midnight was contract due dates. So we had a couple final resignations that came in prior to the new contract cycle starting and things like that. Those jobs are going to be posted starting today. I believe we're going to get them out there. And hopefully after that, I think I got 2 or 3 of those. Hopefully after that, we can get back on track to being fully staffed. We've added under the ESSER funding, we've added special education instructional coaches, or at least we're hoping to add 2. One is recruited and hired at this point, and we're going to repost for a second one shortly here. Might be using some different avenues as well to try to make sure we get a good candidate. We also hired the 5 social work positions, 2 at the middle school, 1 at the high school, 1 at Washington, and 1 at Kate Goodrich. And so total of 5, but the middle school, we want to make sure we supported a little bit extra, and they had, given the age of kiddos in middle school and things, I think there's some added challenges. So hopefully they get some of the extra support they need. It also was a somewhat logical thing, because when you look at the high school staffing from a counselor standpoint, they have 3 counselors and they have about 800 kiddos, or 4 grade levels, I should say. The middle school is picking up a grade level next year and they have 2 counselors. And so trying to fill in the gap again and even out those staffing amounts is kind of where part of where the 2 social workers came from, to try to even up those buildings based on the number of grade levels that they're actually serving. The other one that we are going backwards a little bit on, or making some changes to, was math interventionists. We have reading interventionists in the district, and we've had some turnover. We've actually got the replacements for those positions, and we're moving forward. We're going to try to have math interventionists, and one of the challenges has been in general, because so many school districts got money and funding for ESSER, and I shouldn't say just schools. There's other quote unquote community or county level and state level agencies who are receiving ESSER funding, and many of them are trying to do things kind of as directed by the president's intentions to address learning loss, and they're trying to do that through staffing. And so trying to hire for these specifically licensed positions is getting harder and harder. I was just on the phone this morning with another school district, and they're a bigger district than we are, not too far, but again, their candidate pools and recruitment has looked very similar to ours, and it's been tough. Especially for some of these new and added positions that these schools didn't historically have. So there's just a lot of challenge there, and we also don't want to take any really good, effective teachers out of the regular ed classroom setting and put them in a different role where their impact is less in terms of the number of students they affect, and then not be able to replace them with someone of similar or equal quality. So that's kind of been the catch-22 of trying to hire this season. So lastly, you guys had questions, and we want to talk a little bit about the consolidation that's happening at central office. Basically, as of June 30th, the Director of Finance and Director of Technology positions and the Director of Human Resource positions have all been eliminated during the course of the last school year, and they've been morphed into the Director of Business Services. One of the key points there, aside from any fiscal savings, is hopefully streamlining of some of the decision making and making some of the teamwork more condensed and shorter and sweeter, so to speak. It'll improve our accountability and hopefully make it so that there's not such a long path for decisions to have to meander through in order to get to the places that they need to be at. So that's what I've been working on. We have, as a result of consolidating the administrator positions, we did share with the board that there's still that same level of work that needs to be done. So it's not like we can just eliminate 2 of those key positions and pretend that the work will magically get done by one person. We created an accounting coordinator and a human resources coordinator. We used to have, I think, what was called like an HR supervisor.
Yeah.
Like in 2013, 14-ish, somewhere in there. So we've kind of brought that concept back, but also added in the accounting piece, which we didn't have before. So the goal is that those two coordinator positions will help support the day-to-day operational pieces. That the two reduced administrator positions will have to be filled in, and we're working right now. Basically, as of July 1st, we'll be fully staffed in HR, finance, and in tech, and everyone will actually be on site for the first time in over a year. So I'm very much looking forward to that. And it will still be some training time, obviously, just because everybody shows up for that first day of work on July 1st doesn't mean everybody automatically knows what to do. So there will be, following months of just time spent together, whether it's with tech or, the HR folks or whatever, to work on those day-to-day things that they're learning for the first time in a number of cases. So
one thing I'll say too is anybody that comes into central office, they may notice that we still have a lot of people here, but there are only 5 central office administrators, and we rarely ever toot our own horn, but we're doing the same amount of work. And when you talk about going from 7 central office administrators to 5, the level of risk and liability and the pressure is really on. And so we're still the ones that are accountable, ultimately myself, and then of course with the administrators, the other administrators, Eddie, Karen, Glenda, and Dale, the pressure's on to make sure that we deliver. And so that's one thing that I'm real excited about for the future. The other part too, and Eddie talked about ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 funding. These things just didn't come about. These all came because of our strategic financial plan that we already had. We built a strategic financial plan to go 3 years, saying if we had the funding, what would quality instruction look like, and how can we deliver for our students? And so those math interventionists and instructional coaches and social workers and all of those positions were already mentioned. And then when ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 did become available, now we're able to move forward with some of these, all the way down to what our class sizes look like. And so our consolidation plan does not step on the toes of anything that was in our strategic financial plan. In fact, what we've been able to do is been able to afford some of these roles, not only with the grant funding, but because we're consolidating and closing Jefferson. And so we're taking those savings, reinvesting it back into our students. So I'm looking forward to some real some very positive results coming into the year, because we're removing barriers week in and week out so that we can make sure we deliver for our students.
Right. And obviously it's never been hard to talk to any of you guys coming as an employee here at the school district. It's never been hard to talk to you guys about any certain issues. You guys have always had a pretty open door policy when it comes to any issues, barring, any meetings or any big things you guys have going on. But you guys have it's never been hard to get a hold of you. And I feel like this consolidation plan can help open the door a little bit more for some more people. But at the same time, these coordinators can definitely help with what needs to get done and keep things prioritized. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this all pans out and works out.
One thing I did forget to mention too, because our consolidation with some of these things on the operational side has spread into the other side of the house as well. Glenda Oginski will be looking over the half of technology, so to speak, that is tied to instruction. So when we talk about learning, the LTS folks and things like actual instructional programming related to technology software that we use and things of that nature, getting collaboration between instructional coaches and LTS folks. Those are things that Glenda will be working on, and again, absorbing some of those responsibilities from the former director of technology position. So, as well as doing some of the budgeting that would have been done in that department as well. So,
excellent. So when that comes to, I know the tech guys do some things for Bridges Virtual Academy. Does that still happen, John, or is that kind of or John or Eddie can answer this? I don't know how that exactly works, but Bridges is pretty much a part of us. So
they're operating pretty separately though. I think there's some pieces of collaboration that occur, but by and large they do operate independently. And they've got an outfit that supports them. They technically have a different DNS, I believe, and that's why their emails end with @bvaedu.org instead of @mapsedu.org. So
right.
they are, yes, they're under the umbrella of MAPS, but they are operating in a very separate and independent capacity. So, but we collaborate on some things that are important. For example, the ability to do single sign-on throughout the district with a number of different programs. Sometimes that's very tricky, requires some collaboration, and sometimes we can't. For example, our Skyward can't be single sign-on right now because of the different host names that the two organizations are using. And I know we've had a little bit of challenges with like Safe Schools as well and some other things. But there's definitely some collaboration on some of those fundamental setup pieces, I would say. But the day-to-day operation is definitely coming from the outfit that they contract with.
All right. So, John, let's talk a little bit about next school year. I mean, 2021, 2022 school year is just around the corner. And obviously, we got out, what was it, May 26th, I believe it was, or May 28th was our last day of school. I can't remember exactly. It was somewhere in there. But that definitely, I thought we did it very well. It ended on a very good note.
It did. We're always learning as we go, and so it's nice to have closure on that final MSI day. But this year, of course, there's a lot of planning for next year, and so we kept it short and sweet. We always honor our retirees with the ceremony and the recognition that they deserve for dedicating themselves and their careers to our district. And then it was back in the buildings because a lot of the teachers are still boxing things up for next year. We're finishing our second week, close to finishing our second week of summer school. Next week will be the end of summer school, so things are happening quickly. It seems like in a couple more weeks we're going to be welcoming everybody back, but it's just time flies, and there's a lot that we have to do. So I'm glad that we have the longer summer. I'm also happy for our teachers and our students and our support staff that they're going to have a longer summer too, because this past year was not easy, and I get that. But we're going to be really excited with having Kate Goodrich as a K2 building, Washington as the grades 3 and 4, and then 5th through 8th grade at the middle school. It's going to be it'll be an exciting year.
All right, and so that kind of leads up in my follow-up questions of obviously this last year was, I mean, it was weird. It was weird from start to finish. But next year, let's kind of talk about some of the things that had changed for this year that might change back. So are we going to continue to do some hybrid stuff? Or masks? I know last board meeting was said you don't have to wear it, but I'm sure there's still it won't be discouraged at all. If you wear your mask, you're not being told you can't wear your mask anymore, I'm assuming. Kind of talk about those sort of things, John.
Correct. Masks are optional. We're not going to shame anybody for choosing to wear a mask or choosing not to wear a mask. So masks are 100% optional. I think sometimes when people hear that masks are not required, that they're hearing that they can't wear a mask. No, you certainly can. And so those are optional. We're going to continue to sanitize our learning environments and make sure that our surfaces and everything that our students and our teachers and our staff are touching are sanitized. We're going to social distance as much as possible. But the exciting news is we've got volunteers and visitors are going to be welcomed back into our building. We're going to maintain our safe schools, not only safe from a sanitization perspective, but also safe as far as maintaining the safety of our students against any potential outside threat. And so that's always our concern. But now we've got it. We've learned a lot. Our visitors, our substitute teachers, even board members can now visit our buildings again. We welcome our classrooms to have our volunteers back, but we're going to still continue to operate in a very safe manner. I was just chatting with Laura, manager of Tahoe Food Service, yesterday, and she's still maintaining with the plexiglass, students not punching in codes, those types of things, students not helping themselves to the extra fruits and vegetables. And so there's still going to be a lot of things in place. I think the biggest change, though, is we're going to be able to open up our buildings a little bit more to our visitors. We are not required to wear masks, but everything else is still going to look the same. And no hybrid options. Students will be face-to-face, receiving physical instruction, with the exception of BVA, of course.
Right. So and that obviously can change, because I believe the snow day, quote unquote snow days that we did have actually worked in that virtual environment. Is that still going to possibly be a thing, John, or are we going to go back to just, if it's a snow day, no school?
We recently heard from the board on that, and so we have, I believe, 3 full days built into next year's calendar. And I think the direction the board wants to go is let's use those first 3 days, if needed, as snow days, as not switching back to virtual, because I think the virtual learning environment left a bad taste and a bad connotation, when with our parents especially. And so we're going to probably use the first 3, and then anything after that will be virtual. And so I'll have to remind everybody, our building principals will remind people, if we're looking at using those 3 days as snow days, and we get to that point where we may have to have a virtual day, students will be reminded to take their technology home, as well as their teachers.
Absolutely. So, and those are obviously some of the few questions I had on that. Is there anything else you could think of for next school year that might change back or be kind of about the same from this last school year that parents should know about? Eddie.
And this is a little bit of a more of a staff issue than a parent issue, but we have had a little bit of conversation, and I have had people call me a little bit about what happens if we have to quarantine next year, and what might that look like. We have started to have the conversation that the vaccine is available, obviously, and it's free for folks. They go to a number of outlets, whether it's clinic, hospital, the county, whatever, and they can get that shot. And right now, this year, people have been used to the extended FMLA and or FFCRA provisions under the Family Medical Leave Act that people were allowed to take advantage of. So, for example, if you were, having if you got quarantined or whatever, you were able to be gone for 10 days for your quarantine period and still get paid and not have to use PTO, which, whether you were in the public sector or you were a private sector organization who accepted PPP money, that was kind of the expectation for how to handle employees. Moving forward, that is no longer the case. So the question is coming up, well, what happens if I get quarantined next year and there's none of these days? Well, the first question is people got to think about, you have to manage your own risk as an individual, as a family, as a citizen, and think about, can I afford to miss work 10 days or this or that or be quarantined? And think about that in relation to whether or not you got the shot. If you get the shot, you should be okay for the most part. And that's what we're at least understanding from the CDC and so on and so forth. If you elect to not get the shot, though, we are not going to be like invasive or asking about it or anything, but people will have to kind of adapt and adjust to realize that if you need to be gone because you're quarantined, that time will be on those individuals, and they can take PTO or vacation time if they've got it. Otherwise, it's going to end up being unpaid time. So that's probably a bigger adjustment for staff than it is for anything. But some of our staff also serve double as, the parents of children we serve and as a staff member. So there's some challenges there, but people need to plan ahead, think ahead, and manage their risk accordingly as we get into that school year. So.
Yeah, and I have a question more as a employee that his job is not in, like, I almost don't even need to be here sometimes in order to still get my job done. Is it possible to work from home for those of employees that are not teachers, or just more out of curiosity? I don't plan on getting sick.
Yeah. John's smiling. I'm smiling. That's the $1 million question. And I will say this, because I don't think we're settled up on this 100%, but at the end of the day, I first want to thank all of our custodians. They showed up during COVID the entire time, no break, no remote work. Obviously, you can't clean buildings from home or do maintenance from home, but the experience for different employee groups through this process has been very different. If you recall, in the spring of 2020, a lot of the support staff, teacher aides and things like that, were sent home. We paid them. Many did not have to work, and the board was gracious enough to support that, so on and so forth. So you got a lot of different user experiences. And as we look at whether or not people will be able to work remotely or this or that, that's discussion that's yet to be had, I think. And we're just not 100% there yet. But there's just a lot of things to consider out of fairness and expectations. And again, I think the key part is not, as a public institution and a steward of public money, trying to steer clear of having to manage the risk choices of individuals. So when we talk about people who, if they said, well, I don't want to get the shot, that's okay. We're not making anybody. However, that risk is an individual's risk. It's not, I got sick, district, can you help me out? It's not that we don't want to help people. Again, we are stewards of public money, tax dollars, that kind of thing. So people really need to think about how that works. And John and I will be talking, I'm sure, along with the other cabinet members, about how some of that remote work possibility may or may not be existing as we go forward.
It kind of reminds me too. I was director of special ed for many years, and within Karen's role that she occupies now, and H1N1, we were dealing with that, and we've always dealt with from the county nursing type medical field, student vaccinations, and the vaccinations are a part of our registration process. We're never, ever going to tell a parent, yes, you need to vaccinate your child for anything. However, the bleak reality for some of these parents who choose not to vaccinate their children is that anytime there is a pandemic, their children will be the last ones to come back. And so that's just a fact. I'm not going to advocate for or against any vaccination. But there are facts associated with that. And so that's what we're going to work through too from an employee standpoint. We already know that if we had to shut down for COVID or anything else, that our students that are not vaccinated I'm not speaking of COVID now, because the COVID vaccine only goes down to a certain age, but with any other vaccines, they are the last to be called back. And so that's just what we have to do to maintain safety for everybody. We don't want to be invasive or intrusive or anything else, but we'll work through this and we'll do something that's fair. And it's an entire country that's really working through this, not just our state and our district.
Exactly. And obviously I'm more asking just out of curiosity. I hated working from home. I prefer to be here in the buildings. It's easier. It's better. There's no distractions. It's just work. You come here, you work, you leave your problems kind of at home, sort of deal. And I think everyone can understand that thought process. But all right, John, we're kind of running a little low on time here. So let's get to your question for Eddie then. I know Eddie's been looking forward to this for 12 months that we've actually, almost 11 months actually, that we scheduled them out for. So let's hear it.
Sure, and I know that he's probably expecting anything, but I try to be serious, and I want to talk about some of his new initiatives. For example, I'd like to find out more information about New Pussycat. Is there anything you can tell us about New Pussycat?
I just don't know that I can. It must be on the horizon.
Nothing about New Pussycat.
Nothing that I can think of. Nothing at all.
You were supposed to say, "What's New Pussycat?" and I would have gone, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa." I will tell you that I have been, Eddie's a brilliant guy. He's got a lot of responsibility, and I appreciate having him in the district. But I have been having to school him when it comes to good music, tasteful music.
Oh my!
Here's a person that is maintaining an operational side of this district. We're sitting on millions of dollars, and he has never heard the song "The Edmund Fitzgerald."
Oh my!
Yeah, I haven't. And I guess now I'm gonna have to sit down and truly listen, start to finish. I do have some classics. I do love to watch, like Jeremiah Johnson and some of the music that's in an old classic movie like that. But there are definitely things I would say that John has been trying to school me on. And I'll get there at some point. Yeah, my music variety depends on what I'm doing. Like to listen to country music when I'm plowing snow. Like to listen to rock and roll when I'm doing my motorcycle ride. Just kind of depends on the spirit. But I'll have to try to work in this Edmund Fitzgerald business somewhere along the way.
I'm about to say we have to talk a little bit about that, Eddie. You're an avid motorcycle person. I see that motorcycle every summer day almost, and through most of the spring and fall too. You don't get off that thing very often, do you?
I've got 2 little ones, so the best amount of riding I get is going to and from work. It's not easy to find a spot for the kids to go and convince my wife that the temperature, the wind, and the forecast is just right to get her on the back of the bike. So, yeah, the ride to and from is the best amount of riding I get. So,
and that's one thing I think a lot of people may not know unless you're working, near the central office, because you can see his bike in the parking lot, and you can hear him when he approaches and when he leaves at the end of the day. But no, with motorcycle. But what else are you into? I know that you've got 2 children, Eddie. How do you like to spend your free time?
We do a lot of things as a family. I've got 2 little ones. I got 2 girls, one 6-year-old, one 8-year-old, and we do a lot of floating on the pontoon boat and water skiing and bicycling in the summer. And in the wintertime, we do a lot of downhill skiing, trying to get them into snowmobiling a little bit. That's like pulling teeth a little bit. I won't lie. That's hard to get these little ladies on the snowmobile. And, the first thing they ask for, so where are we stopping to get hot chocolate? We haven't left the driveway yet. So it's a work in progress, but they are the 2 girls I have are my hobby. And that is, if I'm not doing work, I'm probably doing something either with them or for them.
Perfect.
Absolutely. And John, obviously, it's summertime. It's beautiful out. You have any vacations at all planned out, or anything special going on this summer?
I'm not really going anywhere. I'm kind of nickel and diming some days. I've got my brother coming in from Missouri this weekend, as a matter of fact, and then I've got an old college roommate of mine who's going to be coming up to visit from Arizona for about a week, and then I've got another couple of friends coming up, and they're going to be bringing their 5th wheel, and so they'll be camped out in our driveway for probably the better part of a couple of weeks. But they're pretty self-sustaining, and with Kim being off for the summer, I'll work around my former roommate's schedule a little bit, but no, not going anywhere, just enjoying those people who are coming up here and getting out of the heat in Arizona or even the humidity in Missouri.
Absolutely. Eddie, any big plans for you this summer, or just hanging out with the family?
We're going to hang out as a family quite a bit. I am getting close to be due for a trip to Sturgis, though. That I don't know. We'll see. Maybe not. It's undecided yet. Definitely not last year, with COVID and everything going on, but we'll see. I had a buddy who was out in Idaho a few weeks ago and just took some gorgeous pictures, and was doing a lot of hiking and things, and it gives you the itch to want to travel a little bit. So we will see.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this summer, just sticking around home for the most part, but we'll see if there's any plans to move around. I mean, I think opening opening the country back up a little bit for travel is definitely definitely being encouraged at this point in time.
Yeah, and I was looking for some things to do with my roommate. I don't want him to come out and just spend time, with us on our property there, without him seeing things, at least Lambeau or maybe even a Brewer game. And the Brewers games, there's tickets available. It depends on how comfortable each individual person is about attending a Brewer game, but tickets are available. And the bonus is I'm 61 years old, and it's half price for those that are 60 and older.
That's absolutely fantastic. So events going on in the area. I know this is a little ways out, but we do have the fair coming up. I believe it's like August 11th through the 15th. John, any plans on going to that with family at all, or?
Both Kim and I are belong to the Merrill Lions Club, and so our experience at the fair is usually working in their food tent, providing some volunteer hours and giving back a little bit, and then before or after our shift, we like to walk around. Of course, the fair is all about food and all about going over, for us at least, and seeing the animals, and it's a good time. So they've got wonderful events, and I think that if the fair is anything like the recent rodeo, the Wisconsin River Pro Rodeo, it should be a very good turnout. I think people were just getting real tired of COVID and everything being canceled. And so we went to the fair this past Saturday night, and it was packed. You couldn't hardly find a seat in the grandstand.
Yeah, for the rodeo, yeah.
For the rodeo.
Yeah, I drove past that one of the nights. I've never been a huge rodeo person, always a big fair person. I actually showed pigs during my time with the 4-H fair, but that was definitely a packed house. I think it was Saturday I went by. It was packed I think they had standing room only at that point in time. So should be interesting. Eddie, I don't think you've seen one of our fairs yet, have you? Or were you here for one?
I have not, but I will tell you, I am no stranger to the funnel cake ride. I'd be lying if I told you otherwise. And no, my kids, they were bummed last year we couldn't go to any fair anywhere, because sometimes we'll hit up more than one, because kids love to see all the animals.
Exactly.
Everything from the bunnies and the chickens all the way up to the cows and the pigs and all that kind of good stuff. So I know that we will probably do more than one fair this year, just because they love to check it out and do all that kind of stuff and ride the funnel cake ride.
Well, and you got to think, there's Wausau, there's Langlade County, and then there's good old Lincoln County right here, the better fair.
Yeah, and our central office tradition, we'll get back into it, is we'll take a couple of those days, and half of central office, we'll figure out who. Half of central office will go down to the fair whenever it opens at like 11:30, grab a few bites to eat, and either bring it back or eat it there. And then when we get back, the other half will go and get to enjoy that. And so, we'll bring back that tradition. We didn't get to do it last year, obviously.
Right. And obviously a lot of those 4-H kids are students here within Merrill or Tomahawk. You do have a few kids from Tomahawk, but they're all students, and it's good to see them working on something and learning something outside of the school environment. So I'll give 4-H the big props for that one.
Yeah, and if you, for anybody attending the fair, make sure you stop by, of course, the Merrill Lions food tent, if for anything, to see what our Fab Lab students created. They created the Merrill Lions Club sign. It's digital, it's LED, it has a remote control, actually, and they just did a fantastic job. Now we've got others, community and volunteer organizations in the community are wanting to have the Fab Lab create signs for them. So we'll be handing out the Fab Lab brochures to spread the good work that our students are doing. So it'll be a great year for the fair. Absolutely.
The fair is just around the corner. Like I said, I believe it's August 11th is the start date. That should be the Wednesday. It will be a Wednesday where they start setting up all the animals and all the rides and all that. So should be a blast. I do not know the lineup. I will come back to Bluejay Chat next month when we have Glenda Ojensky, John, with the full lineup of like the evening stuff. But John, let's talk about next Bluejay Chat. We determined last night that we were going to have Glenda Ojensky with kind of the changes to the school year and everything. We wanted to talk about what the curriculum was going to look like for students and teachers alike.
Yeah, and she'll be talking about the curriculums that we were able to pilot this past year. Real excited about the direction that we're going with curriculum. We've been behind a little bit, and so we're starting to get caught up. We're understanding what works for our students, and so she'll be able to shed some light on that direction, our curricular direction.
Yeah, absolutely. And Eddie, thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure talking with you.
My pleasure to be here, and maybe next time I'll have a better answer for the surprise question of John's. I've been trained by my children for those kinds of jokes, and I'm getting good at them. Every time I come home, they have a new question, probably very similar to that. So
now you can take one home to them.
I can go home and see what they have to say. So thank you very much, Nathan.
Yep, thank you, John. Always a pleasure talking with you too.
Thank you, Nathan. Appreciate it. Thanks, Eddie.
Yep.
All right. We'll catch you all on the next episode.